Look at that frown. That was me years ago when I was good looking. Welcome back to Dave Crane Daily. It feels like I've been away forever, but it isn't because I'm here every day. And so there we go. So many things happening right now. I will be disappearing to host the cricket. I've got at least 9 matches lined up. The World Cup Cricket T20. It's very exciting. Everybody's in it. 16 teams plus, 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 plus. Can't wait to be there. The only thing is I have to look after my voice. And the only thing is I don't know what the timing is going to be. I think I have to do my show and run away, then come back and sleep and do my show and run away. So I'm going to make sure that as much as possible, I'm here for you. Okay. And then I go to Malta. And then I host a big event all about pitching your business to companies that have started up some brilliant products. So sort of like private label stuff, but they want to be able to show to some of the biggest companies in the world that they are available and on the market. And I'll be talking about that, maybe even going live in the future. But today's show, I want to talk to you about imposter syndrome and introversy. Introversy being an introvert, you know what I mean. So today's show, I'm going to talk about some really good ways of reframing yourself if you're suffering from imposter syndrome, to look at the way you do stuff now, look at ways you do stuff in the past, and the way you do stuff in the future. I'm going to give you 10 ways to check if you're an introvert. You probably know already. Hi. Oh, look at me. And also 4 ways to get into a conversation with people if you're wondering how to start. Now, this is great if you're in an elevator. It's great if you're in a coffee shop. It's great if you're online and you get into one of those Zoom meetings or meets or teams, whatever, and there's people there and you want to join in, but you don't want to make yourself look stupid or step on anybody else's toes. This is worth money, and that's why you should grab your coffee, make some notes, and get ready. It's Dave Crane Daily. Cheers. So much to go through today. I'm always excited to spend time with you. And as always, where are you calling from? Where are you watching? Tell me who you are. Say hi, give me some comments, and share the show. If you got value in here and you enjoyed it, then let other people know about that as well. Really important. You can also go and connect with me on my various social media platforms. You're probably watching on Facebook or LinkedIn or bleh. There's no thing called bleh. YouTube. It's not bleh, but it's YouTube. You can subscribe. Dave Crane. It's everywhere. You can't miss it. So let's get straight into it. I want to share with you, first of all, the big challenges of imposter syndrome. I talked about it before, and I suffered from imposter syndrome. I don't feel I'm suffering from it now. In fact, if anything, I've turned around imposter syndrome to being an indicator of imposter syndrome. Does that make sense? No. You don't know what it means? How do you? No. Okay. Imposter syndrome is when you spend your entire life thinking, I shouldn't be here, I'm not good enough. So whenever you go for a job interview, or you go to talk to somebody that you feel could be your perfect partner, or you go to any situation where you might be judged, or you judge yourself, there's a part in the back of your head that just goes, you're not good enough, and you're going to fail, you're going to look stupid, and then many times that hijacks your ability to do anything. So you end up having a mediocre life. Not the life you really want, and you spend your entire time looking at other people who are more successful and thinking, why don't I have that? I deserve that as well, but I don't deserve it because the voice in my head says I don't deserve it. So I'm writing a big presentation all about this. I've got a keynote to deliver in Malta about how to go from imposter syndrome to industry icon. So I'll share with you a couple of things that I came up with this. So let's start off with, first of all, reframing. Your ability to think about something and reframe it to be totally different. So you have to start off by asking yourself better questions. But what I would say is the key to this is start off with ground zero. Who am I? Because if you can't work out who you are, you can't work out who you're going to be. Now, here's a factor that I came up with while I was walking the dogs last night, and then I came back to start working on this presentation. There are certain things you can't change. You can't change your race. You can't change your nationality. You can kind of fudge it a little bit, but you know where you are and who you're from. You can't change the location where you're doing your stuff, or where you're born, but you can move to other places. But there's a number of different things, like your spiritual side and your gender preference, and your affluence when you first start out in life. There's about 10 things I listed that are real challenges that you can't do anything about at the beginning, but many things you can change later on. Many things you shouldn't change later on, but if you start off with a bad lottery ticket or a difficult lottery ticket, then it can really hijack your ability to believe in yourself to be really good at what you need to do in the future. But there are a lot of things you can do to change all those things. Part of it is reframing and take them one step at a time and ask yourself, could I make this better? And if the answer is no, then you say stick. That's it. I'm not moving it. I'm leaving it as it is. So for instance, depending on your skin color, for instance, because there's a lot of racism in the world, you might have noticed. Can you change your skin color? You can if you want to, but at the end of the day, this is what you've got. So deal with it. Next. Can you change your income? Yes, you can. How can you change it? By learning to make more money. How do you do that? You Google it and then start. Done. Can you change your spiritual beliefs? Yes, you can. How can you do that? You look at lots of other spiritual beliefs, you study people who have talked about this, and then work out which one's right for you. Next. And you can go through this location, where you're born. See, all these things give you a starting point. And some people don't change that starting point and think that's all there is in life. But we can travel around the world, we can make money, we can connect with who we want, we can change our spiritual beliefs, we can do a ton of different things. So start off with that ground zero, but work out where you want to be and reframe the voices in your head, that internal dialogue that says, I'm not good enough and I can't do this, because you can do it. I hope this is useful for you. I will be talking about imposter syndrome more in the future, and that presentation will be available at some point to share with you. If you need to talk to me directly, if there are challenges you're thinking about and saying, well, there's also this and also that, please directly email me or send me a message on social media. I'd love to help out, because this is it's not a pandemic, but certainly is something we didn't know was around. And the pandemic has brought out more emotional and mental trauma for people than probably they even know. And a lot of it, at the heart of it, is getting in touch with who you really are, so you can move forward and get over it. And when you find out who you really are, it was already hijacked by imposter syndrome. That's why I'm suggesting that you look at this in a different set of eyes. Okay, next up, we're going to be looking at what makes people an introvert, and certainly how you diagnose whether you are, on Dave Crane Daily. So as always, we go to Flipboard, which is here. You get to make a free magazine, by the way. If you go to Flipboard, you can choose anything that you have as a keyword or a subject, and it is completely free. You can join me here, Dave Crane. You see where I'm pointing, Dave Crane. But you can do stuff. I do public speaking, branding, self-improvement, movies, and so on. You can choose your own subjects, whether it's digitization, or it's remote working, or it's, I don't know, making cakes, and you'll get loads of stuff in your magazine every day, your personalized magazine, just on the subject that you want. It's fascinating. So I want to share with you something you can find from my own site on Flipboard. And this comes from News Chain Online, and it's 10 struggles that only introverts will be able to relate to. And you're probably looking at this and saying, Dave, you're not an introvert. Yes, I am. I am. I'm a yin yang. That sounds strange. You're a yin yang, changing things again? No, yin yang. I am a massive extrovert when I've got a microphone in my hands and the ability to speak and an audience. I'm a massive introvert when I'm not working. So when I'm on stage, I'm king of the room. At the cricket, I'm the king of the room. When I'm going to host this wonderful event, affiliate Grand Slam in Malta, king of the room. No problem at all. But when I'm not working, I tend to hide. Or at least I tend to step back. Does it mean I'm scared of speaking? No, I'm not scared of speaking. But I don't want to overstay my welcome. I don't want to put myself in a position where people are going to turn around and criticize me or drag out of me a performance where I don't really want to give it. Because when you're an entertainer, it's like a battery. You basically got a battery, you start it going just like a car, and then you got an alternator that plays it with the audience. So you say things, the audience reacts, makes you feel bigger, blah, 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 and it fills you full of energy and you can keep going. Sometimes you've got audiences that doesn't happen. Sometimes it's all one way. You're energizing, but not feeding back. You're energizing, not feeding back. And you end up drained at the end of the event. People say, wow, that was great. And you say, well, not for me it wasn't, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's just the truth. So sometimes that means that when you're out socially with groups of friends, you don't want to put yourself in that position where you empty yourself in a social circle, because that means there's nothing left for you when you're on your own. Does that make sense? In a social circle, you want to recharge your batteries by being very quiet and having friends around you who aren't criticizing or wanting that stage version of you. Does that make sense now? Good. All right. So let's look at 10 struggles that happen for people who are suffering from some kind of imposter syndrome or definitely being an introvert. First, this is it. Okay. You dread hearing the phrase, let's each introduce ourselves when you're online or going to an event and they say, right, who are we all? And they go, no, can somebody just say who I am? Can I wear a name badge? I'd rather not say anything. If that's you, then you know. You hate icebreaker competitions and games because the fact is when you do an icebreaker at team building or any kind of event like that, you have to be you. You have to step out and do a bit on your own. That's what makes the ice break and people come together. And it can be daunting and horrible if you're very, very shy. You hate getting partnered up with a stranger in a gym class. Somebody who doesn't know you, suddenly going to start touching your body or looking at your body and compare. No, 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 no. Public speaking and presentations are a huge no-go for everybody else, not for me, because I overcame this at a very, very young age. In fact, because my mum and dad wouldn't let me shut up. The idea of speaking in public and making a presentation is just the worst thing ever, leaving yourself wide open, but it doesn't matter. Trust me, you can get through this. And also it changes when you're online. Flirting is very difficult. The idea of getting rejected by somebody because you give it your best shot. Your best shot is good for you, but it's pretty rubbish by everybody else's standards. So you'd rather not do it. You haven't got funny lines to make. And here's the thing. Here's the thing I want to just share with you before we go back to this list. When you're an introvert, this does not mean you cannot speak. An introvert means that you've got non-stop dialogue going on in your head, and it's sometimes hilarious, and it's angry, and it's all sorts. If you had a radio that was tuned into your head, people would find it brilliant. It's like a podcast of all the best lines and all the best thoughts and all the best everything. But it goes on in your head, and you don't share it with anybody else. That's why it makes it so fascinating and challenging to share that when you're an introvert. Does that make sense? Good. All right, number 6. You hate when people try to widen your social circle. Let me introduce you to some new friends. No, I want less friends. I'm happy with me as my only friend and the voices in my head. So that's a bit of a challenge. People mistake your shyness for rudeness because you're so awkward about the fact that you don't really want to spend that time with people. And it's not that you don't like people, it's just that you just rather have your own voice because it's really loud on its own. People think, oh, you're all haughty, you think you're better than we are. No, not at all. I don't really want to talk to strangers. Okay, the idea of a night out leaves you cold. Well, that doesn't really count so much now. I don't know how many people are getting nights out. If it's still in lockdown, I apologize for leaving that in. The idea of a night out has lots more connotations involved in it now. It's not just whether you're actually leaving the house and meeting strangers. It's all about the mask ideas and catching something, whether people are vaccinated in the places where you're going to go. People are going to get too close inside your body space. And can you talk to people from 6 foot across? Because if they spit, then they can't reach you. Unless they're really good at spitting. Or they've got a straw. And number 9, there's nothing worse than the phone ringing at work. You know, this is actually interesting. It's a millennial thing as well. I know there's lots of millennials going, no, I'm not scared. No, here's the thing. I was told that for millennials, and I might be completely wrong, you're going to tell me if I am, I'm sure. The 2 biggest fears, I'm trying to remember what the other one is. 2 biggest fears, let's tell you, the one biggest fear, or maybe it's second together. Big fear, doorbell ringing. Why? Because you know everybody. Everybody who's coming around your house would announce, or they'd send you a message, or they'd text you, or you'd arrange it. Doorbell ringing means that there's somebody who you don't know who's going to be there, and that's not what you want to do. I'll tell you the other one later, I can't remember it. Okay, number 10, you're a lot more confident on the internet. You just feel better because you can talk to people without talking to people. You can just go through the transactional stuff of talking to people, and it leaves you alone to not have to worry about too much. If this is you, I'm fascinated by it, and I'm going to tell you next 4 wonderful ways to open conversations with strangers, and so you won't feel like an introvert anymore. You'll feel like the king daddy or king mummy of conversation. That's next on Dave Cohen Daily. So I was just grabbing a cup. Cheers. Yeah, I know my coffee cup's got little teddy bears on. I'm a man. I can have what I want. I'm trust myself. You know, if I want to have teddy bears, if I want to have superheroes, if I want to have anything on my coffee cup, I'll just do it. Why are you complaining? Why am I arguing with myself? No idea. All right, so therefore, running out of max space. That's a shame. I've only got 76 gigs. I'll ignore that for now. Anyway, go back to the conversation just to prove it's really happening in real life. If you're worried about small talk and you're terrible at small talk, let me share with you now. And this is from a website called CamilleStyles.com. Very good. Some really good ways to avoid these mistakes. And it says to avoid these 7 mistakes, but there's only 4 things. I went over that a couple of times. There's still only 4 things, but it still counts. Right, first of all is this. I'll go small for this. First of all, consider your entry point into the conversation. Do not just jump in with 2 left feet and go, "Hi, I'm here," which you probably wouldn't do anyway. Think about the best way. Sit there, understand the conversation as it goes, and then jump in at the right time. Here's an idea, and it's weird to explain because it was a phenomenon in the 80s that nobody else will remember. Do you remember a thing called the double dutch? Double Dutch was a skipping phenomenon where you'd have obviously 2 people holding a rope on either side, but it was usually done by girls, but it was like a mixed competition as well. And somebody would jump in, there's 2 ropes on either side, and then whip it like that, and then do all this kind of stuff. And somebody would jump in and jump up and down, go left, right, right, up, and go out. Then somebody else would jump in, and it was like a competition that was probably popular for about a week, but it was all over the place. Google Double Dutch, and you'll know. So effectively, the hard bit about the double dutch, apart from everything in it, was how you jump in without catching the ropes. So you have to pace yourself, bam, 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 and know when the rope is moving. That's the bit I'm talking about with conversations. So the first thing is this: consider your entry point. What is the conversation going? Is there a lull in it? Can you see a natural end to somebody's conversation or the things that they want to say? And can you jump in and talk to them then? That's what you have to think about. That was a long way to get there, but I apologize. I hope it was useful. If not, then la-di-da. Number 2, don't dive in with controversial topics. Don't go walk in and say, I kick kittens, because that might be bad. Don't talk about politics or any of this stuff at the very beginning, unless it is a political conversation that you need to jump in on. But even so, if you're making small talk, I would get the lay of the land of the conversation flow and work out by basically profiling everybody in the group, what you think their persuasions are going to be before you jump in. You do not want to alienate everybody, and very easy you get the wrong end of a stick, or they don't understand what you're saying and they don't want to talk to you. So don't just dive in. Also, when you do jump into the conversation, don't make it all about you. Oh yes, here, let me tell you all about me, because they don't know. Everybody wants to know what's in it for them. If you tell a story about you, it's going to be reflective of some life lessons that they can get out of it, not just, oh, you're fascinating. But don't necessarily make it all about them either. So you jump into the conversation and say, oh, so that's what you did. Why did you do it? Who was there? How much money did you make? Wait until you know somebody better, okay? Just make it neutral conversation. And the last thing here I'm going to share with you is don't write off small talk altogether. It's really important, and it's a massive part of public speaking now. Because of the fact that we've gone so much into talking online and so much into having conversations like this, small talk is a great way of bonding, connecting, getting a relationship going without having to worry about seeing a big audience in front of you. In fact, when you're doing a medium like a podcast or a video, or even when you're talking conversationally in meets and Teams and Zooms, this is small talk. It's a conversation you have to one person with many people there. If I was doing a show, I said, how are you all? You'd go, what do you mean you all? You talk to me, Dave. I'm sat at home. I'm sat watching my phone in a coffee shop. So that's why I have to talk to you on a one-to-one. And that's why small talk is really important. Master that. And remember, it's all about them. And suddenly you start having a huge impact on every relationship. And you don't worry about what people think of you quite so much, because you know exactly what you're sharing with them in the first place. And that's it for today. I went on a little bit longer than I intended to. Imposter Syndrome, and we talked about getting over being an introvert, and then we talked about how to open up small talk. All useful stuff and absolutely free. Love you. Look, I don't love you. I know you. Well, I don't even know you, actually, to be honest with you. Unless you say hi, I'm just thinking, these are disembodied faces that are staring at me, and I don't even know who they are. But it doesn't matter. I'm here for you anyway. Same time tomorrow. Feel free to share this. Feel free to comment, and feel free to follow me on social media, because this isn't the only thing I do. I do lots of other things, like the Industry Icon program, and also like the How to Speak Your Business and Pitch Your Business, which is a fascinating part of the Great Resignation. We might talk about that tomorrow, but we don't know. We'll find out when we get there. Meanwhile, on behalf of myself and all the many people watching, all the many people involved in the production, and you, have a great day.